Opinions and stories around the game we love, told by your favorite storytellers. Stay up to date with all things cricket. Subscribe to CricBuzz's YouTube channel and press that bell icon now.
Pakistan didn't give themselves a chance of winning. The scorecard tells you a story. I'm just looking down the scorecard. Rizwan, Babar, Fakhar Zaman, Iftikhar Ahmed, Nawaz, Khushdil, Asif Ali. It wasn't down to Shadab that the strike rate of a batsman went to 130. So you have the two lead scorers, 55 of 49 and 32 of 31. Now 49 plus 31 is 80 balls.
Yeah.
That's two-thirds of the innings. Two-thirds of the innings for 87 runs. That means you need to score 90, almost 90, another 85 runs in 40 balls.
Yeah.
Where are you? It's this myth of anchor players is fine in run chases up to 130, 140, even 150. But the moment your run chase is 170, 175, you cannot be 55 or 49. You've got to get a move on. You can be 19 of 18, maybe at best. You've got to get a move on from there. And there were two recognized batsmen batting, and the asking rate kept going up. So I think that is where they lost it. But to focus on the fact that Pakistan lost it will not be fair to Sri Lanka, who won it.
Yeah.
And I just thought the way Sri Lanka played, they were 5 wickets down too. But they didn't down the shutters and say, for 4-5 overs, we'll just hang in there. No, they kept on taking the game forward because this is a game with a small, finite end. So where were they? After 6, they were 67 for 58 for 5 in 9 overs. But they kept on going. If they're down shutters for 3-4 overs and say, okay, they are 80, 90 or 13 overs, you're not getting to 170.
Yeah, that is true. And that's been a problem, Joy, for Pakistan now for a while. I mean, we always say that they're, of course, a stronger bowling unit than a batting unit, but the batting has to pull up their socks at the biggest of stages, and they just, as Harsha said, shut shop at one point.
See, why do you have, what's the logic of going hard? The logic of going hard in a T20 game, harder than in a 50-over game, is you have less overs in which to lose your wickets. Therefore, you can afford to take more risks for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
You cannot afford that Babar Azam has got out for one batsman to just play anchor out there. You have to go. So blaming the rest of the batsmen is stupid, because you've now got a run rate at 13, 14 that they've got to make up. They cannot do it that easily. The problem is up front, they did not take enough risks up front, and that left the middle order and the lower order with too much to do. So it's all right to blame them there. That's a reason the score sheet, I mean, unless you look at the actual economy rate, 6 of 9. What is Mohammad Nawaz, Khushdil and Asif Ali going to do? They have to take chances. They've got to give it a whack. They have no option at all.
Yeah. And
so you're just putting yourself into a situation where they are set up to fail. For them to succeed is very, very difficult. And wait, who knows the pitch best in a match? A guy who's placed 30 balls, a guy who's placed 18 balls, 20 balls. So that's why, if you go and watch any T20 match, the coaches get really angry when players get started like that and then don't go on.
Yeah.
You get out early, it's okay. You can't see the ball, you're not... Once you're accustomed to the pitch and you have not taken your chances and up to your run rate, you have really done your team a disservice.
Yeah, and something that we were talking about at Combox, Harsha, I said that Rizwan is inching towards being the highest run scorer in Asia Cup 2022.
Doesn't mean anything.
He is the highest run scorer, but what good are those runs when they don't get you a win in the final?
I've long said, even in the IPL, the orange cap is no use. Because the orange cap rewards a metric that doesn't necessarily lead to winning matches. If you can score a large number of runs and score them at a reasonable rate, then yes, it's a metric that matters. But if you're scoring those runs at 110, 115, actually, if you're playing at 110, the more balls you play, the more you end up putting pressure on everybody else.
Yeah.
So actually, if you score 70 of 60 balls, what have you done? If in a 170 game, that's why I keep saying, in a 145, 150 game, it's okay. But you cannot do that in a 170, 175 game. But there's one other issue, and sometimes the small issues that just lie beneath the surface and don't get noticed. The catches that were taken was the catches that were dropped.
That is true.
How good was the substitute? Ashen Bandara? Bandara's catch in the deep.
And Gunathilaka as well.
Gunathilaka's catch. Contrast that with Pakistan's best fielder. Yeah. And everyone has an off day, so I'm not criticizing Shadab here. But the two catches there, that was the difference between the two scorecards.
Yeah, the result could have been completely different. But Joy, I mean, if I were to play a devil's advocate here, Why not let Rizwan bat the way he's batting? You've got excess firepower in that middle order. Perhaps reshuffle the order, get someone, like we were discussing in the pre-show, let Rizwan bat number 3, let Fakhar Zaman open, because Iftikhar and Rizwan, when batting together, as we saw today, both are similar kind of players. Can there be a reshuffling of the order, and can that work?
See, that can work to a certain extent. But here's my point. What Harsha is saying, once again, if you face 30 balls, your run rate cannot be below 130, 140.
Yeah.
If you're faced
Okay.
10 balls, what your run rate can be what it is, or 8 balls or 5 balls. Once you face that many balls, you cannot allow your run rate to be that low unless you're chasing again 120 and 130. Yeah. That is a fundamental problem. The problem is not that they've settled down. The problem is once you settle down, if you don't up your score, you're just eating up balls and you're giving nobody else a chance to do it. Just look at that again. That's a partnership that sunk them.
Yeah, almost 30 balls for both of them, Harsha. And you're right. I mean, so your point is that no matter how solid a foundation you build, you've got to build a tall building on that. You just can't have foundation.
If you're playing 170, 180 games, yes.
Yeah.
If you're playing 145, 150 games, you can still take your time to build up. I have a counter theory to the anchor. Let Rizwan play his own way and let everyone bash around him. In the dressing room, I'll put my hand up and say, "To kal aise karte hain? I will play anchor and all of you bat around me." Is that okay?
That's a fair point.
Easy game.
That is a
It's
fair
an
point.
easy game when you're playing anchor with the field spread out, knocking ones, scoring at 110.
Yeah.
So the moment you allow one player to do that, the other guy says, "So why should I play the high risk game?"
Yeah, correct.
So that is why you must have very clear role definitions and say, okay, even if that is the case, you must say, Asif Ali, Khushdil Shah, you're in the side to score this. You will not be judged by the runs you make, but you will be judged by your approach in those situations and how many runs you made and how many balls.
Yeah.
Because that is your role. The moment you assign roles, you can judge people by the roles that have been assigned to them. But whatever you say, you cannot be 55 or 49 in a 170 chase, or 32 or 31 for that matter.